Welcome back, everybody. So in the last video, we set up a Firebase Cloud function, and you should be able to see that now in your Firebase console. You can see this endpoint here. It's called Hello Developer, and it has this endpoint. So right now, if I copy and paste and go to this endpoint, we will see that it says forbidden because this is not a public endpoint. It is private by default. I think Firebase used to have these public by default, and now they are private. So in this video, we are going to call this function and also make it public. So Firebase has docs, of course, on how to call functions from your app. I'm going to come down here and try to move a little bit faster. So set up your development environment, right? So firstly, import Firebase package. We've already done that. Choose the Cloud Functions library. We need to do that. And then add the Objective-C linker flag, which we've already done. Let's go ahead and add our Cloud Functions library, jump into our project, go to the navigator, come down to all of our frameworks, and let's add one more for the Cloud Functions. For the functions, Firebase Functions, I guess it's called. Let's click Add. Now we're going to move this into our OpenAI dependency, but for right now, as we're testing, let's just jump into our app view. Just the first screen that opens. And let's go ahead and import Firebase functions. And I'm just going to create a sample function down here called get data from my new endpoint. Let's make it async. And let's just call a quick task. And we will await get data from my new endpoint. So in here, just like the docs say, we're going to call functions.functions. And then we'll call HTTPS callable, and then call the function. Let's jump into our code here, and let's do a do and a catch. And we'll say let result equals try await functions.functions.HTTPS callable. We'll do the first one. And now the name of our function should be the name that is in our console. So back in our Firebase console, we have this hello developer. That should be the name of our function. Jump back in here. I'll hard code that string. Let's call .call. We're going to get a compiler error that the result from this call is not sendable. Obviously, we don't have access to this type. For right now, let's just add pre-concurrency to the package so that the Swift compiler doesn't yell at us just for right now. All right, with this result, let's go ahead and try to print it out. Let's say let string equals the result.data as string. Remember that this result now is when we set up our function, we are response.sending a string. So that should be the string that we're looking for back in our project. So in here, let's call log manager. And we're going to use our convenience method here. Let's just go hello dev colon, and I'll print out the string. Otherwise, let's do no string. And I'll also print out the error if we get one. Let's just print out we'll say error. I will print out the error.localized description. And let's do one more to make sure that it starts. We'll just say here, we'll go start. Let's go ahead and build and run it to a simulator. Make sure I'm running the development simulator, obviously, because we need to actually access Firebase here. All right, I'm going to take my hello dev and I'm going to open up the console and just filter on the bottom right for hello dev. And all right, the analytics are yelling at us. We shouldn't have made these analytics. Let's just change the type on these to info. Do it for all three of these for now. We're going to delete this in a second. And then hello dev started, but obviously error unauthenticated. So we need to go and make our function public now. So I will link a Stack Overflow post below. A bunch of people have ran into this problem. I think it's because Firebase has made changes to how these cloud functions work recently. So there's a 2024 update. We need to go here. Let's jump into this. And this should bring up our cloud console where we have our function. So we'll have to do this for each function that we create. All right, from here, this is a cloud run function, which I believe is something that Firebase is moving towards. We can see here they're integrating into Cloud Run in the next couple months. So let's go on the top right here and click Go to Cloud Run. Now that we have this Cloud Run, let's click on this one. Let's add permissions here, and let's add a principal. Let's go ahead and do all users. Let's look for the invoke, and this is a Cloud Run invoker. Make sure it says Cloud Run because that's the type of function that we are running here. Cloud Run invoker. Let's go ahead and click Save. Allow public access. Allow public access. And then hopefully that worked. So now we should be able to go back to our Firebase function, copy our URL here, and paste it in, and it should be public now. So now anybody who has access to this URL can come in here and say, hello dev, and see the endpoint. So it's a public endpoint that anybody can access now. Let's jump back into our code base and Command R to build and run. It is running now, but the data could not be read. So the first time that I built this project, I actually didn't use the Firebase functions package, and I just did it through a raw URL session. And so I passed in the actual full endpoint, which I then learned was not the correct way to do it. So it turns out that if we are using this Firebase functions.call method, then we need to update our code to actually be on call and not on request. So let's try to do this one more time, guys. Sorry about this. Let's jump into our TypeScript file. Let's change this to on call. And the on-call method only has a handler with one object here. So let's just change this to just be the request. And then instead of calling the response, we will just return the string. I think that will work. Let's go ahead and Command S. And let's open up our terminal. Let's call Firebase deploy -- only the functions. And let's see if this works. Make sure you are saving your TypeScript file before we are redeploying. On request is not being used. Okay, so we got an error from, I don't know what actually triggers this error. Let's jump in here. On request, we no longer need. Let's just delete that. Command S to save. Jump back in. Let's try one more time. Firebase deploy only the functions. Changing from HTTPS function to a callable function is not allowed. Delete your function and create a new one instead. All right. Let's go into the Firebase console. Let's go here and delete our function. Deleted. Now let's try it. Firebase deploy -- only functions. All right, deploy complete. Let's check Firebase. I will reload it. We should now see a new endpoint. I will copy this and let's paste it in here. Make sure that it is still working. All right. Well, I guess because we didn't now call it from a Firebase function that this has now changed. Let's actually just try to run it from our code. So hello developer, let's go to our code base, and this is what actually matters. So let's Command R to build it one more time and see if this works. Generally in the past, I've used the on request so that we get the full scheme, and I've kept it public, but I think this is the appropriate way to do it, what we're doing now. I guess in some way it's good that we're doing both. All right, back to our error unauthenticated problem. Now that we deleted and redeployed a new function, we got to go back into our cloud console here. And let's go back to the cloud run. Let's go ahead and click on, let's check our new version of the function. Let's go to permissions. And again, we're going to add a principal. We're going to go all users. And finally, let's look for the invoke, cloud run invoker, save it, allow public access. So now we can go back to our console here, and I should be able to take the endpoint and paste it in. And I guess the endpoint doesn't actually work now because we're not actually calling it from the Firebase package. So previously we had a on request, now we're in the on call. If we just go to the URL, it's not on call. So let's try to run it from our Firebase package now. Jump in here, Command R, and hopefully this will work. And boom, hello dev, this is me from Firebase. All right, so we made the function public, but it still needs to be accessed through the Firebase onCall method. So it's public, but it's not fully public because we can see that when we just access the URL ourselves, it obviously doesn't work. You need to be accessing it through the Firebase project, which is clearly why onCall is more secure than the original on request that we were working with. All right, that is all from this video. I know it was a lot of setup again for just a simple little project, and I apologize that we had to take a couple extra steps that I was not accounting for. But now we have everything set up and we are ready to go. And in the next couple videos, we can actually start migrating our AI code to add 2 other functions to our cloud. I'm going to end this video by just deleting this new code because this is obviously not the actual code that we want. Let's discard that change. I will discard this change, and then I will discard this change. Let's go ahead and Option Command C. And the only change that we're really committing here is the Firebase functions package that we were imported. Let's just go feature. We'll say import Firebase functions. Let's stage it. Let's commit it. Push it up to GitHub. Let's also jump into our terminal because we made some changes to our cloud Firebase functions. Let's call git add with the period. So we're going to stage all changes. We're going to git commit, and we'll give this a message. We'll say redeploy and change to on-call method. Let's go ahead and commit that. Then let's git push to the origin. And let's push the main branch, which is the only branch that we were on. Cool. That's all for this video. Hope you guys are still with me. We're going to do some more work in the next couple videos to actually now move our AI functions onto the server. Thanks y'all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.